Okay, hello. I am Mangam Melganis. I fuck this as take two. I literally recorded the whole thing. I forgot to talk about the Apex, so I want to re-record it because I don't want to edit things in or do any of that, especially because I made some mistakes on the other one. Was adding the time steps. So whatever. I'm 3700. I play mostly Holy Priest. I swapped a disc for progression on Crown and Lura because we didn't have one, and Oracle sucks too much and Double Grip is too strong. Okay, otherwise, I would be playing Holy Priest. I vastly prefer it, even though I'm not too happy with the current iteration for a variety of reasons. There will be timestamps in the description. Please go look there if you want. But I'm going to start. We'll start with Archon, then we'll talk about some Holy Priest problems, and then some Oracle problems, and then some probably more M plus utility stuff. Uh, okay, so Oracle for the most part is good, right? It's the better performing one, um, and it plays pretty okay. Now the first, there's still problems with Oracle though, and I think that we can very easily see that, especially with how much Holy Priestess have had to get ore buffed over the course of this expansion. Um, right, we got ore buffed a ton out like right before launch, coming out of beta. Um, right, like we weren't even like we are so shit in raid testing. We had to get ore buffed. Then we got ore buffed again after launch, and we got ore buffed again and again. Like we got ore buffed like 3 times or something ridiculous. Somebody that has the numbers can compare, but we're in the double digits of ore buffs at this point, which is ridiculous. But the main problem with Archon comes from this joke of a choice node. And the reason I say it's a joke is because it's a choice node, but it's not a choice. That is with Spiritwell, right? You have a choice between Surgical Light being able to be consumed on Prayer of Healing, in addition to Flash Shield, or stronger Flash Shield, and then you also have more frequent Surgical Light procs. Right? In theory, this is a good choice node, right? And I like it. Right? I like this choice node in general. The problem with this choice node, though, there's 2 problems with this choice node. The first problem with this choice node is with Focused Outburst, right? Because this only buffs Prayer of Healing and not have a Flash Shield component, it makes it irrelevant. Right? It makes this choice node a joke, because if you wanted to play a Flash Shield only variant, or you just lose out on a talent, a throughput talent in your hero tree, which is bad, right? Every hero tree has 12 nodes or 14 nodes. 12 of them are throughputs. 2 of them are non-throughput, and with one being a defensive, one being a utility, right? That's a problem, right? And currently right now there's 3 main ways to play Holy Priest for your fillers, right? You're either going to spam Prayer of Healing, right? Like the theoretically 3 ways. You're spamming Prayer of Healing, number 1. You're spamming only Flash Heal, number 2. Or you're doing the mix of Lightweaver, which is like 50-50, right? And in a Prayer of Healing only build, these are fine. In a Lightweaver build, right, this is you could technically go either or here, and this is fine. In a Flash Heal only build, you could only play this, and you wouldn't play this. So it's like, and you would have this, but it would be worthless. Like, this should just be a choice node with something that also buffs Flash Heal, in the same way, IMO. But I just think that's a huge miss, from Blizzard, right? The second problem with Archon is in this Spiritwell talent. This Surge of Light can be consumed by Prayer of Healing in addition, right? This should not be in addition. I'm arguing that this is bad gameplay for it to be in addition. Surge of Light can now only be consumed by Prayer of Healing, because you get into this bad gameplay spot where you're using Benediction, right? And you're in your Halo. You want to consume your surges on your Prayer of Healing. you proc a Benediction in a normal Halo, and now you're like, you're in this weird scenario where you're trying to juggle your Surge proc, you're trying to juggle a Benediction proc, but not using your Surge proc on it, and you're trying to dump Holy Words, and it's this very awkward gameplay. And it was one of the reasons why the tier set from last season, Season 3 of War Within, was so bad, where you had to dump enough Holy Words to spawn more Halos, right? And why there's not a conditional on this extra Halo that you get now, wherever that is. This power surge lasts an additional 5 seconds. Right, I just think it's awkward gameplay, especially when you're in Apotheosis, when you're trying to only cast Benediction. I just find it awkward because you can, right, there's this thing where if you spell Q, you can instantly use your Surge proc by accident. So if you're like if you're mashing the button for Benedictions too hard, and the one previously that you previously hit, like you spell Q'd out of, procced a Surge of Light, it will proc it on that Benediction, which feels bad because it's like I just don't like that gameplay. And I think that they should change that. Okay, now on to more Holy Priest specific stuff that aren't specific to Archon. The first thing I want to talk about is the Apex Talent, because I forgot to talk about it, so I need to remember to talk about it early this time. This is bad. Right, I think the best Apex Talents are either... I think the best Apex Talents are the ones that are either always active, right? Think like the Druid one, which you basically always have it going for you, or the ones that deterministically proc. And to an extent, Holy Priest is under that deterministic one, but because of how it functions, it just feels weak. Right? Like, because you have 32 seconds of Apotheosis, right? And it's always active in Apotheosis Benediction, it makes each Benediction cast feel weak, which feels bad. I'm not a huge fan of how ours has shaped out. Again, like the button I think is cool. I think the button is cool. I think the effect is cool. I really like seeing the ripples. One side note, I wish the ripples from the Benediction cast the ripple off of your target. Again, it wouldn't really functionally do anything because ripple is a smart heal to everything. I just think it would look cooler, visually more stimulating and cool, personally, to see those ripples popping out of different people and pulsing instead of pulsing out of yourself. But that's just my opinion, and I'm not sure how hard that would be to implement, but that's just a neat thing that I wish they would do. And I'm gonna take out the fact that, because I'm not sure that they could really rework this in a sufficient way quick enough. I'm not really gonna make an argument for that. The one thing I will argue is I think that there should be more power in the Benedictions and less power in the in this aura buff on the rank 2. I think the aura buff, 12% is way too much for an aura buff. I think that there should be way more power in the Benedictions. One of the things that I think that they could do that might be good is that is a functionality change. Again, I'm not sure how hard this would be to implement, but a functionality change in how Benediction works. I think the Benediction proc should be stronger. That way, outside of CDs, it's stronger. Right? So, like, this should be, like, maybe heal the target, like, 40 or 50% more. And then in APOTH, you have the weaker version, but also your palm bounce can still buff it. So some of your Benediction procs in APOTH will still be buffed because it'll proc during APOTH and you'll have a buffed cast of it or something. Right? I that's the way I would solve this problem of, like, make Benediction outside of APOTH feel stronger when it actually procs, and then make the Benediction in Apoth a little weaker because you have up to 32 of them technically. Because you can't really buff the spell too much without just making your Apoth degenerate and you only spam Benediction, right? There would be a point where you would only do that if it was strong enough. Instead of doing the Holy Word, cycling gameplay. That I think that should be a goal. Now, the other problem with Holy Priest is in the mana department. I don't really have solutions for this. All I'm saying is that these mana talents are a joke, right? 10% less, 10% more mana regen. Again, what this means is that you get 10,000 baseline every 5 seconds, so 2,000 a second, right? 10% more is just 11,000 every 5 seconds, right? Over a whole minute, right? Because that's you get 20 cycles of these, you get an extra 20,000 mana, right? Like, again, that adds up, yeah, but it's like not really noticeable when your mana costs are, that's one, with all the talents, that's one prayer of healing that you get a minute. Like when you think about, like, oh, that adds up, right? Like 20,000 mana is a lot. It's when I'm getting 11,000, like I'm getting a whole 2 cycles of mana every minute. But when you think about it in the terms of your actual spells, that's like one prayer of healing, 1.5 flash heals, right? Like, you're like, wait, that's not a lot. I get an extra fucking prayer of healing every minute? Like, what? Right? Like, it's not good. Right? If you're gonna have us be reliant on passive mana, make these numbers stronger. But in general, so we like slower. But in general, I would just prefer that there was an active mana talent. Now, onto the other problem Holy Priest has is in Prayer of Healing in general, right? Prayer of Healing, because of essentially because of how bad the mana is, if you want to play Prayer of Healing, it is 4 points versus 1 point for Flash Heal. The reason I say that is if you're playing Prayer of Healing at all, you need to buff it to make it worthwhile to press, right? You need to buff it to make it more mana efficient, right? Because the more you're healing from it, the more mana efficient it is. Right? And you need to buff the mana cost because the mana cost is way too high. So you're forced into these 3 points. Now you're also forced into this point with reducing the cost of Flash Heal. The reason you're forced into that is because you're casting a decent chunk of Benedictions anyways outside of Apoth. And in Apoth, you're only casting Benediction except to spend your Surge of Light proc on Prayer of Healing. Right, and because of how bad Holy Priest mana is in the first place, you basically need this talent or you're going to go very quickly. It will add up very fast. Right? That's an issue that can't really be solved because, again, it's 3 points versus 1 point with Flash Heal. That also is why I don't like Archon for dungeons as much. Because you're kind of... Because you have 3 points that you have to spend on Prayer of Healing, plus the extra one that you were spending anyways if you were a Flash Shield build. But your 3 points extra. How do you get the 3 points for damage? How do you get your 3 damage points? You kind of can't. And that's the other problem that Holy Priest has versus other healers, is that we have to spend 3 talent points in our class tree, or not a spec tree, for damage. That feels pretty bad. They can certainly do something like make it only 2 talents, maybe make like Empyreal Blaze also have like a healing component, so it feels less like it's only 4 damage and there's some healing required. Like, again, not a lot, like not disc levels, but like have those levels be more worthwhile. Like, I don't know. There's a lot that they should change, because I think 3 talent points for damage is a lot when I would say most other classes don't spend that much, or the damage points that they're putting into, like on the disc, the Mistweaver, the Holy Paladins are also contributing into healing, in some shape, some way or another. Right, so I think that's an issue. The other issue, I didn't talk about this in my previous recording, which I'm glad I remember now. The other issues with Empyreal Blaze, this is just the way this functions. I think is bad in Apotheosis. I think it should not be refreshing. Now extends. I think that they should do something different to this. I don't think it should be able to extend into like infinity in your damage rotation when you fully send Apoth for damage. I think that there should be some sort of a limit to how much it can scale and increase the damage of the dot itself so it doesn't stack infinitely. Or so you don't have to do like some like crazy annoying tap target shenanigans multi-dot stuff, because I just think that's not very fun for holding in the first place. But in a lot of cases, like your Holy Fire on the main target, if you ever have Apoth going into it, will just like last longer than it will take to kill the mob, and you lose that value of the Holy Fire, which I think just shouldn't be very common, or as common as it is. Okay, another problem that Holy Priest has right now is Palm is way too weak. Prayer Mending is way too weak. This button should just be better. It's very sad how bad it is. Right? Especially when you have a tree like Oracle that's only about Prayer Mending. I just think the button just doesn't do enough. It's still very mana efficient, which I think is good. But honestly, I think even if they increase the mana a little bit to make it less mana efficient, but it does more healing, I think that would be like fine. Like, I'm not sure what they're scared of. Like, just make the button actually feel good to press. Right now for Archon, it's basically only it's only fuel for Benediction casts, procs, which is like whatever, and then it sometimes procs Prayer Mending or Renew on people, which is kind of okay. But like I think they could mess with either of these. Either make it heal more, or proc more Renew, or do something more relevant. Okay. Now we'll go into the Oracle stuff. Now again, I alluded to this, right? One of the problems with Archon was that if you're flash heal only, you're missing a throughput talent. Now remember how I said there's the only 2 non-throughput talents for Archon, and for every other hero talent that I'm aware. Maybe there's another one similar to Oracle, but for the most, I don't think any of them are nearly as bad as Oracle. Where I will show you, right? And remember, not all throughput talents are equal, but them being throughput matters because it gives them a tuning knob to adjust, right? If Halo is weak, they can buff Halo, either baseline. They could buff the energy compression. They could buff the resonant energy if they really wanted to. They could buff the pulses from Power Surge. They can, if Halo's too strong, they can nerf it. They can nerf the Power Surge. They could buff the Surger Lights. They can nerf the Surger Lights. There's a lot of tuning knobs that they have distinctly towards Archon that they can touch that wouldn't really affect Oracle, right? Or Holy Priest as a whole. That's not the same with Oracle, right? Oracle is missing, right? A Guiding Light is a weird one because it is throughput, but it isn't at the same time, because again, if you play 100%, if you're a robot and you play 100% optimally, this will probably just never matter, except on pull, because you're just never going to sit on a charge. But functionally, this is good, and I'll count this as throughput, because most people are not going to hit Palm exactly on CD, especially when you're in Apoth windows and when you have a lot of stuff going on mechanics-wise. It is good enough that it will be throughput for most people. Right? Preventative measures is throughput. Again, ignoring how weak Palm is, it is throughput. If Palm was better, this would be better, obviously. The shield is weak, but it is throughput. Right? So, that is what it is. Our defensive talent technically is throughput. I'm not going to count it, though, because it's a defensive talent, and that's not really fair. But technically, this does give you HPS, whereas other defensive talents may not. Like, if you're another class that has something like is just flat DR, you're not really getting throughput. You're only getting the defensive value that's not HPS, but again, doesn't really matter. It's a defensive talent. We have Preemptive Care, which is throughput. This is our utility thing, which doesn't matter. Well, actually, let me do a tangent for our utility. Divine Feathers, I don't like how this functions. I think this is bad. I think that this should be baseline functionality for the feather walkthrough thing, but they should just change it. I think altruistic feathers are a good thing. I think more people should use altruistic feather, but just make it so that when I cast the button, I get the move speed, and I don't get the move speed when they take the feather. I think that's just how it should work for priests in general. I think but again, because there are times where you use this and then they dodge your feather or they don't use it and you're like, what the fuck? Because you're trying to predict their movement, or they just walk weird, or you place it in front of you and they fucking dodge it and you're like, what the hell? Now I don't have the feather, now I have to like place another. It's like, it can just be annoying to do. And that just saves it if you have it so when I hit the button, I get the speed. When they take it, they get the speed. Right, something like that. Prompt Prognosis is throughput. This is reducing the CD is throughput. This is not throughput. Guardian Spirit lasting 2 seconds is not really throughput. It's not throughput in the sense, in a good way, right? It's the only choice node it's the only node in the game that buffs an external, which is kind of interesting, right? Because it gives you 2 seconds on GS and 10% imp for Paints Up. I think it's way better for Disc than it is for Holy. I don't think 12-second GS is worth much versus 10 seconds. A lot of ads, if it's for ads, a lot of ads will be healed in that time. If it's for a debuff, a lot of times it will be used. Before that, there's not very many debuffs that last longer than this, really. So it's like, it's kind of like, what's the point? It would be cooler if there was something else here. Piety is very close to not being a throughput node. And the reason I say that is that currently, in the current healing environment, it is a throughput node, right? There is a decent amount of overheal. We're overhealing. But I want you to consider this. We were very weak at the start of this expansion, right, as Holy Priests. We weren't healing as much. And when your baseline heal is low, your overheal is going to be lower, right? Because you just don't have enough. Your spells just don't hit hard enough, right? Like we were, which is why we got ore buff so many times, right? And if that environment changes, if we're sitting at lower percentages, we're not overhealing as much, this can very easily become irrelevant. So I'm going to count this as throughput currently, but I want to put an asterisk there that this could very easily not be throughput if the healing environment changes, which it may or may not change. Blizzard has not been the best at balancing the environment, but maybe this will still be good. I'm going to go under the assumption that Overheal will still be good because it's been good the past, ever since Dragonflight, since I've started playing really hard. Twin Sight is throughput. Word of the Rise is throughput. Prophet's Insight is throughput. Unfolding Vision is not throughput. The reason I say this is not throughput is this does not matter in any relevant content. This literally will not matter in any relevant content. In Raid, almost every fight has points in time where, there's almost never a fight. For this to be relevant, you would have to be hit with Prayer of Mending. It would have to sit on you for 30 seconds. It is very rare for any fight in Raid for that to occur, where it is sitting on you for 30 seconds and you took 0 damage. Right? It is not a throughput talent. And in M+, same thing. They added so much more rot damage, so much more packs. Basically every pull has damage, damage that's hitting you, whether it's a random pelter, random leap guy, random AoE, right? So many packs. They're either nothing happen, either you're all taking damage, or it's bouncing and your palm stacks are bouncing around anyways, or some packs there's literally nothing happening and it doesn't matter. right? These are the packs. Sorry, wrong thing. These are the packs like in AA. This Guardian Sentry. There's literally no damage happening. Your palm stacks don't matter even if they drop here, right? It literally doesn't matter, right? Same thing with these pulls. If your palm stacks drop, they don't matter because they don't do damage to you. There's no damage here. So even if we're, let's say, oh, we're getting value because we're not dropping palm stacks, it doesn't matter because you're not, like, the palm stacks dropping don't matter anyways. Right, and even without that talent, you could still sit on multiple palm stacks before the boss just because of how long it takes the boss to spawn, and you can just juggle them if you really wanted to. So I think, like, this is irrelevant, it is terrible. Right, so again, we're missing 2 throughput nodes on this tree compared to others. Right, that is so much we're losing. Right, this is bad. Right, like, we're missing something. And, you know, and again, we're missing choice nodes. Look at the choice nodes. We have 2, right? If we go to Archon, Archon has 4 nodes that they can do. Two of them are the defensive utility, but they have 2 choice nodes here, where that they can make that decision if something's bad or good, right? Disc, I think Disc Oracle has the same problem, but I think Disc Voidweaver also has Disc Voidweaver has 3, right? Again, 2 of them are the utility, but again, there's one here which you can change, and Voidweaver has its own issues, but, you know, again, when you have more choices, when you have more choice nodes, there's less chance of you being handed a pile of shit, is the way I'm gonna phrase it. Right, because if I had a choice node, if we had a choice node on one of these, like, at least one of them is probably going to be good. Like, for Archon, for example, without me swapping to it, right, if Halo is bad, I can just buff Apoth, and that will always be good. And we don't have that flexibility. If one of these things suck, I don't know, I mean, there's no nodes for us to do this on, but, like, let's say if there was a choice on a Prompt Prognosis. If Prompt Prognosis sucked, we could choose the other, whatever else would be on this node, right? If that node sucked, we would have Prompt Prognosis to fall back to. Right? So that's an issue that Oracle has over other trees, is that we're -2 throughput nodes, and we have no choice nodes on our throughput. Right? And the reason that these -2 throughput nodes suck is that there is no tuning knobs for them to change. Like, what do they fucking change on this to make it better? Besides just buffing palm baseline. Right? You can't really change much. There's nothing to fucking buff. You can make, like, what numbers do you change that makes a functional difference in how well Oracle does? Like, nothing. None of these numbers matter. Right? Like, Piety doesn't matter if the baseline numbers suck, right? Like, you would have to just buff Palm, right? It just lives and dies by if Palm is good or bad, right? Or if Prompt Prognosis is good or bad, right? It's not the same as Archon, whereas Archon, even if, let's say, Halo sucks, or the Surge of Light sucks, they're all shit. Surge of Light sucks, Halo sucks, at least Archon has 10% amp during Halo to all spells. All spells 10% amp during Halo, right? After the sufficient amount of pulses, right? And then same with Apoth. Apoth 10%. You're gonna combine Apoth with Halo most of the time to a 20% amp, right? Oracle doesn't have that. And now one of the solutions that they could do to change this, that I would endeavor, or that I would beg them to go on this endeavor with, is to add gameplay nodes to these 2. Remove these, add gameplay nodes. Right? Specifically, add things that like, they should just add baseline things, right? And now one of the ideas that I had personally is because one of the things that, or first, let's start with one of the things that a lot of people talk about, okay? A lot of people miss answered prayers, right? Answered prayers was a talent where after it was a 2 rank node like Prismatic Echoes or Light and Darkness, where after 100 times of Prayer Mending bouncing or 50 on rank 2, you would proc Apoth for 8 seconds. Now, one of the reasons I think they removed that was it made it hard for them to balance mana economy for Holy because you were just in Apoth too much, right? Another problem would be that Benediction would be way stronger for Oracle than it was Archon because you would be in Apoth more, like a significant amount more on Oracle, right? On top of that, you basically needed a weak aura to track your Apoth proc. Otherwise, it was very hard to realize when it was going to proc, what your stacks were at, etc. Right? So I think that all influenced their decision to get rid of it. Right? So that's a hard sell to get them to do something on Palm Bounce. Right? Or something similar to answer prayers on Palm Bounce where you proc Apoth. Now, that is an element of gameplay that they could go towards to make Oracle better. Right? Is to have Palm Bounce matter and do something. Right? Whether that is an Apoth proc like we had before or something else. Right? Who knows? Right? It's really the world is their oyster with it in terms of that. Right? One of the ideas that I personally had was to have something like this, our War Within Season 1 tier set. Right? Where, I mean, we don't have heal anymore, but Flash Heal and Prayer of Healing have a 50% chance to cast again at 35% effectiveness. That's just a fun effect. You can have that chance all the time as Oracle. Then have it 100% chance every time you hit Palm. 100% chance the next cast gets that 35% boost. Right? Okay, that's not bad, right? You could, if that's too strong, you could have it not have the chance, only be 100% chance on the thing. You could have it only be the chance and remove the Palm stuff and have that. But the idea is that you give us something, right? And the reason I had it after Palm is because you're hitting Palm every 9 seconds. Then we have this like gameplay loop of I Palm and then I do X, right? And I think that would be a lot better at shoring up the gameplay holes of Oracle. And that would give them a knob to tune, where like especially if it was on a cast, right? Like Prayer of Healing or Flash Heal, right? You could have a knob because we can say Prompt Prognosis can't be too good because it's an instant cast, right? You can't make it that strong because you have to take into effect the value that you're every time you're hitting Prayer Mending, you're getting 39k from Prompt Prognosis plus an extra 19k from this. Right, like that's a lot of value on the Palm cast. Right, that's a lot. Right, when you look at Flash Heal, it's healing more than a Flash Heal. Right, together when you combine it, especially if it crits. Because if it crits one, it's critting both, I believe. So, so there's ways that they can change this that I think that they should do, but baseline, these should be gameplay nodes. Whether they take my opinion or not, it doesn't matter. They can basically decide what gameplay they want to give it, but I think that there should be gameplay here, and that there should be a choice node in at least one of those gameplay options, so that we have less likely of being served crap, basically, as a talent. Another thing that I think that they could do, remember how I said no matter how bad Archon will be, it will always be decent because you're getting a 20% amp every 2 minutes in your Apoth, right? You're missing something there in Oracle, right? Now, Oracle does have Increase Renew, and they did fix Lasting Words, which I am so happy about. Lasting Words actually functions properly now with Preemptive Care. That was a recent change in the latest one of the latest patches that only happened like maybe a month ago or so, right? Super big change. One of the things that I think they should do on this talent is to increase the value of Renewed Faith. Make the value of Renewed Faith on Preemptive Care increase by maybe it's 15% stronger all heals or 20%, right? That way again, that way your choice is like you're still getting a. Your choice is like between that way, between Archon and Oracle, right? You have a more distinct balance between like healing profiles, right? One of the issues before with Oracle versus Archon was that both were that 20% amp, right? In Oracle's previous case, it was 20% amp with the Premonition of Piety, right? And you would have that every time you had Apoth, and you would and it matched Archons, right? And because Oracle was tuned better and it had the Piety effect, the overheal redistribution, it was just better once they actually fixed it and made it good after the start of Season 2 War Within. Right? Now, the problem that they run into is that Oracle doesn't have as defined of a relevant thing. Like, I think Oracle should be more about not as strong 2 minutes, not as strong as 1 minute, but more of a wall of HPS. That's what kind of fits the vibe of this current Oracle Palm build, right? More of a wall of HPS. And I think that would be better if they increase Renewed Faith, right? Which makes your Renewed better. And you would be more of a wall of HPS, but also you would lose out less compared to Archon in your Apoth, because you would have an extra 5% in an Apoth, or an extra 10% on most targets during Apoth, because of how many holy words you dump and how many people you can get renew coverage on in Apotheosis. Okay. Now, well, I'm going to talk about M Plus in a second. Let me talk about, real quick, I want to talk about Trail of Light. Trail of Light is, I think, one of the best talents in the game. Or one of the most fun talents Holy Priest has to offer. I really like the, if I flash shield myself once, right, I'll wait for this to go away so you can see. And then I flash shield myself again. I get the Trail of Light value on myself as well. But one of the problems is, I'm going to flash heal this guy. He gets the heal, no echo. Right, I'm going to heal I'll select him. I'm going to heal myself. He gets the heal, you see it, no echo. Right? At some point, they change this. Echo of Light should work on these two talents. It is very dumb that it doesn't work on this. In my current build, I'm losing 14% healing on Trail of Light. That it should be doing 14% more healing. Currently, it usually averages around 3% in a dungeon, right? That's a decent chunk of healing that I'm losing. Right, that would bring it up to 3.5 or whatever. Or 3, that would bring it up over 3% of my overall healing if it actually worked properly, like it should. Right? The other thing that I would say is I think Trail of Light should be higher. I think that this could be 30% or more. I think that Dispersing Light is bad. I think this number should be closer to Trail of Light and also higher. I also think that it shouldn't be all 4. I think it would be much better if this was I think it would be much better if the choice was Trail of Light at 33% healing, duped, right? And then Dispersing Light at 15% on the previous 2 targets, right? That way you have this profile of okay, Trail of Light will always be mathematically more, but if you wanted more coverage, you would have Dispersing Light be, right? You would have Dispersing Light give you more coverage on more people for a little bit less amount. I think that would function way better. Right? But that's just my personal preference, because currently I would almost always play Trail of Light just because Dispersing Light is just way too low. Right? 5% on 4 is just so fucking low. That is 7,000. 3,000, right? Like, look how little I heal. When it crit, like, it does so little healing per target. So I think that's a problem. Oops. Okay, now onto the utility side. And thank you for staying so long in this video. I really appreciate it. But the utility side, priest utility as a whole sucks, right? And the reason I say it sucks is that our one stop doesn't work on so many mobs. We can't stop any elites. A lot of things are fucking undead or mechanical or whatever else that you can't scream. We also have to be melee as a ranged caster that's slow. We have to be melee range of mobs to disorient them, right, and have them be feared. Like, it just doesn't make sense. They're just missing. Like, this should work on everything. It should be removed to something else, right? Like, again, one of the main reasons I think that it is the way it is because of PvP with how good Rogue Mage Priest has been historically and how much it's been like a god comp. But, like, I don't know, make it a PvP only talent and give PvE something else. Give us Lightbomb from Anduin from HOTS, where you put a stun on a target. We put something on a target and it stuns after a few seconds. Like, you know, give us something that works on mobs and lets us be fine in general, because right now it fucking sucks. On to the other things, right? Utility in M plus is supposed to be fun, right? People complain about Mass Dispel being nerfed. It lost Priest the spot, right? But the thing that I always say is that 30-second Mass Dispel in Dragonflight was never fun to fucking play. Nobody had fun doing that. It's not fun to be a Mass Dispel bot every 30 seconds. Right? Think of any fight. Right? Think of any fight, any counter where you're dispelling every fucking 8 seconds, too. Right? Those fights are always the worst. Right? The beginning of P1 Fire X sucked because everybody had to dispel every 8 seconds, right? Those fights suck. Right? The pulls where I'm dispelling on CD suck. Right? If I'm mass dispelling on CD every time it's up, that fucking blows. Right? Especially when it's that frequent. So, like, the mass dispel change was good. And then they removed it, and the dungeon design has been better since. Right? But what I do want to say is that they can do stuff to give Priest good utility. Right? One of the things is in Leap of Faith. Right? Blizzard gives Holy Priest no mobility, right? We have no mobility whatsoever. We have fucking Feather. And we also have Body and Soul. With Palm or Shield if you're Disc. To go faster, right? One of the things that we have is Leap of Faith, right? This is an iconic ability that is fucking power crept by Evoker Rescue. Right? One of the things that they should do is give more opportunities where Leap of Faith shines. Right? So, one example where Leap of Faith is good is in Seat of the Triumphant on Zeral the Ascended. Right? He has this leap ability, this not Crashing Void, what is it? Decimate, right? This Decimate where he jumps at you and he does the puddle, right? One of the things you can do, you can grip out of that. It's very similar if you played last season or in Shadowlands to the Halls of Atonement second boss, where you can leap or you can grip people out of its flesh to stone damage. Right? It's very similar to that. Do more mechanics like that. If you want us to have this iconic ability, if you want this thing to matter, give us moments like that. Give us things that we can grip people out of. Give us more single target knockbacks in Raid and M+, where grip matters. Right? One of the problems in like every raid fight is that when everybody gets knocked, when one person gets knocked back, everybody gets knocked back. So you can't do anything. Right? Like, we just don't have any mechanics where that matters. Like, send more mechanics like Bellerin. Bellerin has the the soaks, where if two people are stacked, they go launch to the moon. Send more fucking mechanics where somebody gets launched to the moon and they have to use a mobility to get down, or a priest can grip them down, right? Have more mechanics where somebody gets targeted with a knockback. Think fucking Dark Flame Cleft last season, or last expansion. Dark Flame Cleft had the pickaxe, where if you messed it up, you got knocked back by a ton, right? Have more mechanics that will knock you back, and if you have a priest, they can fucking grip you out of it, right? Or you can rescue out of it, or you can blink out of it, right? Have more mechanics like this that target DPS, where I can save them, and you're like, holy shit, my priest is pog. He kept my uptime up high because he gripped me at the right time, right? And I didn't take damage. I didn't have to use a defensive there. I didn't have to use a mobility, so I have mobility for something else. Right, but they don't do that. That's a problem. On top of that, Dominate Mind, I think this is a failure of an ability. I don't think it's fun. Whenever it's good, right, I think Zeral the Ascendant is the one exception to this where I think it's not as annoying to do, where you can easily do it. It's not annoying to set up. It's not that OP. It does some damage to the boss. You ignore one ad, but it is what it is. And it's not that OP. But it's less annoying. It's not as annoying as some of the other ones where you would dominate mine. You keep something the entire fight, or for the entire dungeon, right? Whenever that's the case, it's either so OP and it's fucking annoying to do. It's annoying to sit there, watch the guy, have to do it every 30, re-mind control every 30 seconds, make sure you don't get meleeed by the mob, or you're like dropping the mind control and using CC on it to get it to stand in place to throw fucking cleavers like in Necrotic Wake. Like, I just don't think it's a good, I don't think it's ever going to be balanced, and I don't think it's ever going to be fun for most people, right? I just don't. Like, it's either so broken and that's why it's fun, right? Or it's irrelevant and it's just a pain in the ass, right? Like, so, like, what's the point in keeping it? Is my opinion, at least. Right? Same thing with Shackle. Shackle is kind of cool. It's cool that it's only a cast and that there's a limit, right? And you can keep spamming it. But again, like, if you ever in a spot where you have to keep spamming it because it keeps getting broken, it fucking sucks. And also the fact that it's many talent points to get to sucks. The other issue Priest has is in talent points at the bottom. There's so many mandatory throughput and defensive nodes that you just can't, like, you have 10 points down here, you're forced into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You have basically 9 mandatory points. You can argue that this isn't mandatory. I disagree. 3% DR to most damage in, or most relevant damage, right, is magic. Matters a lot. So I don't, you need this for healing, you need this for healing, and you need 3 points in this to make it matter, and you need 10% DR. So it's like, you don't have points. Before, when they had the other change where you had the other 3 points, it made sense. Like, I could choose to get these 3 as well, and I could choose to get or I could -1 and get Phantom Reach, or -1 and get Spectral Illusion, or -1 for some extra damage if I really want. Like, the choice mattered more, but it meant you got less utility up top. So they're just in a weird scenario. I think the main problem that they did is they made this tree with the idea that you would have more talent points down here until they realized that you were just skipping all the utility up here, and then they redid that, and that's been the problem ever since. So I think that's it. I covered everything. Oh yeah, Lightburst sucks. Remove this talent. It's a fucking trap. Bring back the other thing, or something. I don't know. Or just make it a number. Like, make it like every 3 Holy Novas is buffed or something. Like, you know, make it easy. You're usually spamming Holy Nova anyways when you're doing it, so like, you could set it up for a big heal if you really wanted to, or whatever. Like, I don't, like, just change it. If you don't like the stacking, like, where it counts up, which I agree. I didn't really like that iteration either because it felt whatever. Make it so that like every 3 is buffed or every 4 is buffed. That's an easy thing to keep track of. That's an easy UI element to have. You would have it glow as well, like, you know. Obviously these talents suck because the mana sucks. Or not mana, problem sucks. So, thanks for stopping by. This is way longer because I talked way more in this one. So, I'll add timestamps if you've skipped ahead and need to go back. Thanks for stopping by. See ya.